Inventing Reality. Section. Is it all economics? More than a century ago, Karl Marx observed that those who control the material means of production also control the mental means of production. So in every epoch, the ruling ideas are the ideas of the ruling class. Indeed, it seems so today. Viewpoints supported by money have no trouble gaining mass exposure and sympathetic media treatment, while those offensive to moneyed interests languish, either for want of the costly sums needed to reach a vast public, or because of the prohibitions exercised by media owners and management. In a word, the mass media are a class-dominated media, bound by the parameters of ownership in a capitalist society. The media play a twofold role. While seen as something apart from business, they actually are a big business. But like the, quote, non-profit, churches, universities, law schools, professional associations, arts and political parties, the media also are an institution geared for ideological control. Their role is to reproduce the conditions of social and class dominance, to carry out the monopoly management of image and information, but in such a way as to engineer an appearance of class neutrality and an appearance of independence from the corporate class that owns them. Some persons would deny that oligopolistic ownership fosters uniformity of ideas. They argue that even if the media do show a concentration of ownership, this does not explain everything about their content, for mass communication is influenced by an array of social, cultural, and psychological forces. For instance, the professional values of journalists ensure a good deal of independence in the media. To focus exclusively on the economic factor is to lapse into a simplistic materialist reductionism. Economic power is not everything, the argument goes. No one says economic power is everything, but it is quite a lot. And having taken note of the other factors, need we then hastily dismiss the material and ideological class interests that result from corporate ownership and control, as do more orthodox writers who prefer to blame the media's, quote, shortcomings on inept reporters, an ignorant public, and cultural biases? Social experience is no less economic because it is also cultural and psychological. Life does not come in neatly divided and mutually exclusive subject areas, as do academic departments. The, quote, cultural is not something to be counterposed as distinct from and competitive with the economic. How could there not be a linkage between cultural and economic interests? How could there be a viable society in which the two were chronically apart and opposed to each other? Most things are simultaneously cultural and economic. An automobile, a television advertisement, a board of trustees, a cosmetic kit, and a toolkit are all cultural and economic. The technology, commodities, services, institutions, and systems of ownership and command have both a cultural and economic dimension, and for that matter, a psychological one as well. Indeed, it would be hard to imagine any of the dimensions existing in a context devoid of the others. This does not mean they operate with perfect coordination, but it is time we stop thinking about them as being mutually exclusive and conceptually competitive. Economic power does not automatically translate into cultural hegemony, but it makes such hegemony much more likely. Those who own the media must make conscious efforts in selecting the right managers and editors, in setting down proper guidelines and permissible boundaries, so that they might exercise maximum control with a minimum of direct and naked intervention. End section.